Hey guys, it's Brian Rodgers. Join me on this video. I'm going to show you how to make my black-eyed pea barbecue stew. This is an amazing nutritional recipe that I use throughout my entire weight loss. It's one of the staples in plant-based barbecue cuisine and plant-based mountain grub. I take this in a thermos with me when I go skiing or hiking or anything. You're going to love this recipe. Again, watch this video. I'm going to show you exactly how I make it. Take care, guys. All right, guys, here we go. I'm going to show you one of my mountain grub secrets today. This is like a staple for me. Never done this on video before. Just wrote the recipe down, but I've been cooking this pretty much since I went plant-based. I take this in a little thermos. I cook this and heat it up, put it in a thermos, take it to the mountains with me. Love this dish. I wanted to do this on New Year's. We're past New Year's. We're in 2021 now. But it's the key ingredient in this dish is black-eyed peas. And so I should have done it on New Year's. I didn't, but I thought about it on New Year's, and now I'm going to show you how I make it. So this is my black-eyed pea barbecue stew. All right? Very easy to do. You can see the ingredients laid out in front of me here. All we're going to do with this is we're going to start out some, you can either use water, or I like to use, I always have this sitting around. I mix a really good vegan vegetable stock with a really good vegetable broth, and I have this on hand all the time. Also, I just want to give a shout out to the vegan pho kit that I bought yesterday from the food truck out in front of my house. It was so amazing. They were actually selling vegan pho kits. So good. And I thought I would just give them a little shout out on this video right now. So if you're in Denver, you got to check that out. So we're going to start out again with some stock and kind of simmer that down a little bit. And then what we want to do is we don't want to get our vegetables mushy like you would for like a soup or anything, but because we want to have some flavor, but we need to cook them down a little bit. So we're going to simmer. We're going to start this by simmering our veggies.
You still want a little crunch.
A little crunch, yes. And since it's hot, and if you're going to put it in a thermos or something like that, that hot stock will continue to cook all day long.
Good
so
point.
Yeah. And if you have a really good thermos, I always recommend everybody get a really good thermos. I don't know if I have mine here, but I like those really, the smaller, they're the Thermos brand, and they actually have a spoon that's on the lid that you can actually open your thermos. It keeps stuff hot, I believe, for 24 hours. So it's pretty amazing. So we're going to start with some carrots. We're going to do 1 carrot. And again, since we're doing a stew, we don't want it diced up like really small. We want kind of chunks. So we're going to do some about one carrot cut up. We're going to do 2 stalks of celery. All right, we're going to do 2 stalks of celery. And then this is one of my favorite ingredients. This is an ingredient that a lot of people don't use. This is cut up rutabaga. Rutabaga looks like this, kind of, but they're longer. They kind of cut them up into chunks in the store. And they're similar to a white, if you can't find rutabaga, you can get like a white turnip. Very underrated ingredients. You can eat these raw. They have a little bit of between a radish and a kind of cabbage flavor. It's kind of what it tastes like. Raw, they're amazing for dipping, great nutritional value, but when you cook them, they become sweeter. So they actually change flavors. So they're one flavor raw and another flavor once they're cooked. Very underrated ingredient. I cut these up and I dip it in hummus at home. So we're going to put about 1 cup of rutabaga in there. And rutabaga will take even longer than carrots to cook, so that's going to be kind of our crunch ingredient for this. Let me give that a stir. See how that's kind of starting to boil a little bit? That's what we want to do. We want to kind of get those vegetables down in there and kind of get that going. I didn't use any potatoes in this recipe. I don't use any onions. This is a super, super, super healthy recipe. Lots of nutrition in it. At this point, I like to add a little bit of salt and pepper. So I'm going to add a little bit of whatever pepper you like. I always have a pepper grinder on hand. I'm using I think the medley that I got from Sam's Club. And I'll put a little pepper in. And then, of course, no dish is complete without a little bit of Fool's Gold smoked salt. I'm using smoked cherrywood salt today. Just a pinch of smoked cherrywood. You can find that on our site. I'm using a pinch of cherrywood salt, just like that. And then we're going to let those simmer down. Give that a stir real quick. All right, and now we're gonna put a lid on that, and we're gonna let this simmer a little bit. for, I'd say probably 10 minutes or so. So we're gonna go ahead and let that go. Why we do, I'm gonna tell you about the rest of this dish. And I'm gonna do I wanna tell you a little bit about Fool's Gold barbecue sauce. So the rest of this dish, once that's done, we're gonna add in a couple cans of black-eyed peas. We're gonna add in either some frozen or canned peas. And then we're gonna add in a mixture of Fool's Gold original sauce and Fool's Gold original pepper sauce. So we're gonna mix those together, and we're gonna add some more of our veggie stock, and that's gonna be kind of the base for our stew. It's not gonna be a soup, it's gonna be a stew. But I wanna recommend everybody go over to our website, foolsgoldbarbecue.com, check out our sauces. We have, I think, a few cases of Palisade Peach still left. We got our pepper sauce over there, and of course our original. All proceeds go to our foundation, the Next Thing Smoking Foundation, where we're in the fight against childhood obesity. This is one of the staple dishes that I always, anytime that somebody approaches me and they're like, hey, can you help me with more healthy food, something I can eat regularly, this is one of the dishes that I like to. This is a weight loss dish, but it also packs protein, which is kind of surprising. But it's very low in calories. But you can go over to my website, Fool's Gold Barbecue, and you can check that out, or just go to nextthingsmoking.org, check out our foundation. So we'll be back with you in just a second. Once this simmers down, we'll be right back with you. Okay, so this is cooked down now. So what we're gonna do, can you see how that's kind of cooked down into that stock like that, Ken, and kind of the vegetables are starting to change colors?
Good sweat going.
That's exactly what you wanna see right there. Because remember, this was covered in the stock when we started it. I simmered it all the way down. These vegetables now, I'm gonna taste the carrot. They're almost perfect. They got a little bit of a crunch still, but they're not mushy. It's exactly how I want them for the stew.
And that's where people fail when they're making stews or
hot
roast or anything like that, where they slow cook it. They always just dump everything in there.
Yeah, and especially in plant-based cooking, one of the things about plant-based, we've talked about this a lot, is texture. You got to get the texture right. You don't want slimy, like a lot of plant-based food is overcooked, it's slimy, has a weird texture. That's not sustainable. If you're not used to that kind of eating, you're not gonna go on a plant-based.
It's gonna throw you off.
It's gonna throw you off. And if you want your family to eat too, that aren't plant-based, it's gonna throw them off. Family don't want slimy food. I'm showing you how to make easy, simple, gritty, everyday food, but you want to follow how I'm doing it. You don't want to overcook stuff. You know what I mean? All right, so Ken, so what we want to do now is we want to reduce the heat to low, and we want to start adding in everything else. We're going to add in 2 cans of black-eyed peas. You could do black-eyed peas dry too. I'm using the cans this time. All right? So 2 cans of black-eyed peas. Again, we want this to be back down on low now. And we're going to mix that up with the veggies. And then we're going to add a can of beans. I like Latour beans. They're my favorite beans. Peas, Latour peas. They come in that silver can if you've ever seen them. They're the best peas. Or you can use frozen peas too, but I love Latour peas. I could just eat them right out of the can with a spoon. And I hated peas before going plant-based.
And this is not a paid promotion.
No, it's not. I hated peas before. So now I'm going to mix that in like that. Look at that.
Pre-sauce.
Yes. That's just starting to look like a stew, a black bean stew. All right. And now there's hardly anything in it. What you want to be careful, you can make this into a soup. It's not as good of a soup as it is a stew. The difference between a soup and a stew, you can look it up. My everyday, growing up poor definition of a soup or a stew is, a soup is you can sip the broth out, and a stew is you could use a fork with it, right? So that's kind of the definition that I kind of hold. So at this point, now we're going to make our broth to go with it. So all we're going to do is we're going to start adding in our barbecue sauce. So we're going to add in about a half a cup of Fool's Gold barbecue sauce. Now I'm telling you, this is not an exact recipe. I'm saying a half a cup. This is one of those things that you want to kind of mess with the barbecue sauce, the stock, and the hot sauce to get it exactly the way you want it. But you can start with about a half a cup. So we're going to put a half a cup. And I actually thickened this because Fool's Gold is a little thinner than my original sauce that won the American Royal. It's a little thinner because I took a lot of the stuff out of it. I took a lot of that. It used to have ketchup and stuff in it. Now it doesn't. And I took a lot of the stuff out of it, and it's a little thinner. So you can thicken it up with arrowroot powder, tapioca starch. What else, Ken, can you thicken it up with? Some flour if you want. I don't recommend flour for sauce. So arrowroot powder, tapioca starch. There's some other thickeners, but those are the two I kind of like. Xanthan gum, I guess you could use. So we're going to start with our barbecue sauce. So half a cup of barbecue sauce, and we're going to mix that in. Get that going really good. Don't use too much barbecue sauce in this, because then it'll just, it won't. Barbecue sauce with vegetables, even though I'm plant-based barbecue, you can overdo even fool's gold barbecue sauce on vegetables, guys. So you want to have a slight hint of barbecue sauce, but not taste like barbecue sauce, if that makes sense. Okay, so that's looking good.
Never would have thought I would hear the day Brian Rodgers said, not too much barbecue sauce.
In this dish. In this dish. Because you want it to be a stew, and you're going to eat it with a fork later on the mountain or on a hike, or go sit on a park bench, or go to a skateboard park, or take it to work with you, whatever, school. A little bit of hot sauce. I'm going to use about a tablespoon. I'm going to use about a half a tablespoon of Fool's Gold pepper sauce. Best pepper sauce, in my mind, in the world. It took me 25 different tries to get that pepper sauce right. So I'm going to mix a little pepper sauce in. And then we're going to take some of our vegetable stock and broth, about another half a cup. And we're going to put some of that in it, about a half a cup of that. Again, this is just organic, vegan vegetable stock and broth. 1 part to 1 part, evenly mixed. I'm going to put that in. And then once I get to this point, I'm going to now turn the heat back up a little bit. And that's starting to be what we're looking for right there. See how it's just got that little kind of, just a little bit of brothy in there. And as you cook it down, that's going to kind of go away, and it's going to coat that. And there's a ton of protein, ton of vegetables, ton of protein in that. You can add anything you want to this too. Like if you have anything smoked, like I always have smoked jackfruit laying around, or smoked tempeh, or smoked sweet potatoes. If you want to add that at the end, just to give you a different kind of dish, feel free to do that. The other thing my wife loves to do with this, and my son, is they like to, once this is done, they take the leftovers and they make a potato soup. There's a potato soup we like to do with coconut milk and good potatoes and stuff, and they like to mix these two together. So they'll like put the potato soup down, and then they'll kind of put this on top of it. They also like to use mashed potatoes and kind of thicken this up a little bit and do like a, not a casserole, what do you call it? Shepherd's pie.
Shepherd's pie.
Yeah, shepherd's pie.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, shepherd's pie. Which this makes a great shepherd's pie filling. So that's about where I want it. I'm going to give this a taste, because again, this is not an exact science here. So at this point, you want to taste it. And the 4 things really that can be added at this point are a little bit more barbecue sauce, stock, salt, pepper. So you want to kind of taste it for flavor at this point. So I'm going to let that cook down a little bit. I'm just going to taste the broth. I know the veggies are good. I'm just going to taste the broth. That is almost perfect. So those measurements I used was almost perfect. I'm going to add a little pepper to it, like that. And that's really it. I'm going to let that cook down for another like 5 to 10 minutes. But you can also leave this on low. This will stay hot for a long time. So if your family comes home at different times, you have kids come home from school at one time, your husband or wife comes home at a different time, your live-in in-laws, if you have live-in in-laws, come home at a different, or they're already here watching you probably cook, right? They live with you. Your grandparents live with you. We had our grandma live with us up until her death, and it was always a joy. She always used to love to sit in the kitchen with me and watch me cook. And of course, she would be the first. She'd always be my taste tester, you know. Now I have Ken to be my taste tester. So she loved black eyed peas.
I haven't died yet.
No, you're not. You're just getting going, Ken. She was 98. So
Oh, I wasn't insinuating that.
She lived a long life. All right, so let's look at that. That's about how you want it, Ken, right there. It's about how you want it. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you how I like to eat this. So I'm going to be right back with you. I'm going to let this cook for just another minute, and we're going to go out to the front, and I'm going to show you how I like to cook, how I like to eat this. So we'll see you. Okay, here we go. We are back. I'm going to show you the different ways that we like to eat this at our house, and the way I like to use it on the mountain. So as you'll see, these things, I have 3 of these. I have 2 large ones like this. I also have 2 small thermoses that are about this big. And my small thermos is what I usually take, because I don't know how many ounces are, but these things keep things hot for 24 hours. So I literally will cook this before I leave for the mountains, and I'll take this stew that we just made, this black, look at that smoke, and I'll literally just put this in the thermos. I'm not going to do it right now because we're going to eat here, but I'll literally take all this stew and I'll put it in the thermos, and I'll seal it like that. Put this on it, and my little one also has a spoon built into the top right here too. So you actually have a spoon, so you put it in your backpack if you're skiing or hiking. Or
they're getting really creative with these
things now. Yeah, and you literally, I sit down, I'll stop, I'll take my skis off, I'll sit on the side of the mountain, I'll open this up, and I'll sit here and eat this stew for my entire meal. And it might be only like 220 calories, and I'm full. People ask me how I lost 150 pounds. That's how I did it. I was out doing something I love, getting exercise, plus eating nutritious, watching my calories, keeping it down. That really is the key. So a lot of people, there's a difference between when you're trying to lose weight and you're trying to just maintain. I'm kind of in maintenance mode now, although gained a few pounds over the holidays maybe. Eating a little bit too much nutritional. Nutritious or nutritional? Too much nutrition in my plant-based diet over the holidays. Let's put it that way, right? Things that we wouldn't normally eat. But no matter what I do, even if you go to my Instagram page at Brian Rodgers, you'll see some amazing dishes that I do and I really spend a lot of time on. I still try to keep them as healthy as possible, no matter what it is. You'll never see me, dumping stuff into a deep fryer and stuff like that. Although, I love a good deep fried taco. Ken and I were just talking a little bit ago about possibly doing some deep fried curry tacos, which I think sounds amazing. But I always try to keep it healthy, and this is one of the best ways that I used when I was losing weight. So one way to do it is put it in a thermos. You can send it to your child's school. You can send it to your husband or your wife's work or your partner's work. It's a great dish. It stays hot all day. The way we like to eat it, everybody in my family does it a little differently, but check this out. This is just a nice stew, and we're going to take a big scoop of that, and we just put it in bowls. It's almost like chili, I guess.
It's a good comfort food.
Yeah, it's a great comfort food. Again, you could add other stuff to this, but I literally love this recipe. It's got black-eyed peas and carrots and rutabaga and peas. And what else did we put in that? I forgot. I know I've cooked this a million times, and I feel like I'm missing something. Peas, rutabaga, carrots, black-eyed peas. I think that's it. Barbecue sauce. A little bit of stock. That's pretty much it. Very simple recipe, some hot sauce. So we like to dish it out like this. Then everybody in my family is a little different. I always like some green onion. I always have green onion around. If you've seen me on other videos using green onion, I always cut a little bit off the top, and I like the chives on the other end. But I always like to cut the very ends of the chives off. I don't like to be wasteful, so if you want to keep that and throw it in a soup or something, you're more than welcome. But I don't like the very ends. They get a little kind of funny, I don't know. Yeah. Bitter and slimy, and I don't know. I like to eat as much food as possible, not waste, but that's one of the areas I just can't stand bitter.
It's the first part that starts to spoil when it does go bad.
So on mine, I like to use a little bit of vegan cheese, and this is melted down. If you've seen other videos, I usually put my vegan cheese in a windowsill, and it kind of starts to melt a little bit. I put a little bit of vegan kind of cheese on mine. And then I like a little green onion, a little chive, and then I love cilantro. Not everybody loves cilantro. I put a little cilantro on it, and then I finish it with a little hot sauce. Right over the top. Hot sauce like so. My son likes to eat it just like this. He puts it in just like this. I served this to my mom not too long ago, I believe, and she liked to put a little sour cream in it, mix it up, and make it a little creamier. But this is how I like it. This is exactly the way I like it, the way I eat it. So I'm going to give it a shot right now, and I'll let you know how it tastes. All right, here we go. So I got to get a piece of the celery, a piece of the rutabaga, the pea. Oh. It's so good. Again, the key to this is not overcook your vegetables, and on your stock, mix your barbecue sauce and your stock pretty evenly to where you get a hint of barbecue sauce and a hint of hot sauce, but it's not too over saucy flavored. It's just a perfect, it coats the vegetables. Amazing. Guys, you got to try that.